Hey lovely people. Well, I first of all want to say a huge thank you for all that left comments yesterday on the post. If you didn't watch yesterday and if you haven't read yesterday's, I really want to encourage you to go in and read those comments. I talked yesterday about choosing to remember God's goodness, remember his faithfulness, remember the miracles he's already done in our lives. And I asked you to post your own comments and share your testimonies, and you did. And they were so faith-building. I want everybody that is listening to this right now, if you haven't, to go and read some of them, because people are testifying and remembering how God healed them of cancer, how God delivered them when they were in need, how God provided for them miraculously, how lost came to be found. And I want you to read those testimonies and remind yourself, if God did it for them, he can do it for me. And let's build one another up in this season. We've kind of built a family of Today I Choose. And so let in this family that we built us encourage one another. Maybe ask some people to go read those things that will help them see God's power working in so many of your lives. I loved reading them. So thank you for all of your comments. Today, I want to kind of speak over our lives a word that I hope is liberating in this lockdown season. I don't know how you're doing. I really hope you're doing good. But the truth is, I know many of us are going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. And whichever one this is for you, if it's a good day, there might be a bad day in a few days. If this is a high day for you, there could be a low day coming, because we are all navigating the emotional roller coaster that this is, the stretch this is in all of our finances and in our families and in different ways. We're all battling the same fears and the same obstacles. And so in this season, we all kind of have a part to play in dealing with this and navigating what could be very negative. And I want today to make sure that you know in this season that you also need to be able to reach out and get the help that you need. Today, I want you to choose to reach out for yourself, and maybe reach out today for somebody else. I'm going to take us to a few stories in the moment where people in the Bible had to break some things off their life in order to get the breakthrough. They had to actually be willing to change how they normally saw their life unfold and do something more radical to get the breakthrough that they required. That actually reaching out may not be something that is our norm. Maybe we are more people that give out. Maybe you're someone who always thinks of somebody else's needs before yourself. Maybe you put yourself on the bottom of the list of people that actually deserve help. But today I want you to know we all need help at different times, and we all need to know how to reach out and get that help. And I pray today, if that is you, that you will, by the end of this, pick up the phone or reach out to someone or cry out to someone and actually find that you are able to reach out and get the encouragement you need, the strength you need, and find that person or some people to pray with you so that today you don't feel that you are alone in whatever you are facing. So let me take you to a few people in the Bible who reached out, and it wasn't their norm behavior, but there was something in them that shifted, and they realized, if I reach out, maybe today he will reach out and make a breakthrough in my circumstance. And every time they found that miracles were at the other end of their being willing to reach out. The first person I want us to refer to is this woman that we find in Matthew 15 in verse 21. It's entitled The Faith of a Canaanite Woman. Now, the Canaanite woman was not someone that Jesus had come to reach that day. When she approached him, he actually was quite rude to her. And I want to read this to you because in our reaching out, we're going to have to break some barriers. And maybe in reaching out, you're going to have to break some things off your life that have kept you from actually saying you need help. Maybe you're going to have to break through some pride. Maybe you're going to have to find some humility. Maybe you're going to have to break through some awkwardness in order to reach out and ask God for help, or ask someone else for help in these areas. And it depends how desperate we are sometimes, doesn't it? As to how much we are willing to reach out and actually say, I need help. But this woman had reached a point of desperation, and she really didn't care what anybody said to her. She was not going to go away from Jesus without the miracle that she needed, not even for herself. She was reaching out for her child. Let me read the story to you from verse 21. It says a Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon possessed and suffering terribly. You know, she put herself in the shoes of going to reach out on behalf of her daughter. And maybe today you need to actually pick up the phone and reach out because of someone else. You actually need to say, hey, I know that you're probably struggling and I'm reaching out to you to say, I'm here for you. She went on behalf of her daughter. And Jesus did not answer a word. Watch how this plays out. And so his disciples came and urged him, send her away. She keeps crying out after us. And he answered this woman, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Jesus is saying, hey, I'm not here to serve you today. This is not what was on my agenda today. I mean, if you've ever been offended by anyone, this woman is about to be offended by Jesus. So whatever offense you have, my friend, you better get over it, because Jesus offends this woman, and yet she still pushes through to get her miracle. She has to reach past her offense. She has to reach past the put off. And maybe you are going to have to reach past some things today in order to get the breakthrough you need. The woman was not put off. She came and she knelt before him. She said, but Lord, you got to help me. And he replied, here comes the offense. It's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. This is an unbelievable story. And she responds, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And Jesus says, woman, you have great faith and your request is granted. She could have stopped reaching out to Jesus when he said, I'm not here for you today. She could have stopped when the disciples tried to push her away. She could have stopped reaching out when she was offended by what he said to her. She could have stopped at any of those points from reaching out, but she was aware, am I more bothered about my pride being dented? Am I more bothered about feeling awkward? Or am I more bothered about the breakthrough for my daughter who needs me today to reach out on her behalf? And she pushed past her pride, and she pushed past the embarrassment, and she pushed past the push-offs, because she knew, if I will just keep pressing in, maybe, just maybe, I will get the miracle I need today. What do you need to push past and keep reaching past in order to get the breakthrough today? Maybe there's an offense in the way of you and your breakthrough. Maybe there's some forgiveness that you need actually to push out into the atmosphere of your life so you can reach out and get the breakthrough for your life. What is it that you need to maybe push past the awkwardness of so you can reach out and get the actual blessing that God has for you? Let me give you another one. There was another story, and we know this story well, many of us, but let me remind you of it. This is the story of actually this blind man that actually is begging at the roadside. And as he's begging at the roadside, he hears Jesus in Luke 18. He's in town, and he begins to shout out because he needs to reach out to get his healing. And he begins to shout out, and everybody around him begins to say, be quiet. Just be quiet. And maybe you're not reaching out right now because you feel people are going to say the same to you. Don't ask for help. Other people need it more. Maybe your inner voice is saying you don't deserve help. You shouldn't ask for help. It's embarrassing. I don't know what the inner narrative is that stops us sometimes from reaching out and saying, I'm actually not doing great. I actually do need some help. But this guy right now in this scenario, he's blind and he's crying out, and people are saying, be quiet. But it says in Luke 18, verse 38, that he called out, Jesus, have mercy on me. And those who led the way rebuked him, said, be quiet. But he shouted all the more. He was not going to be put off by what they said to him. And Jesus stopped, and he ordered the man to be brought to him. And when he came near, Jesus asked him, what do you want me to do for you? Lord, I want to see, he replied. And Jesus said, receive your sight. Your faith has healed you. It's interesting, isn't it, that every time people pushed past those obstacles and reached out for Jesus, he said, that's faith right there in action. Our faith wants to reach out for our breakthroughs. And that man had to silence the voices around him to reach out to the one who he knew had the answers before him. Today, maybe you're going to have to reach out past some negative voices, reach out past some put-offs. But if you will today, you're going to find that Jesus stops, just like he did for that guy. He will stop and he will hear your cry and he will heal your heart however you need healing. What about one that we all probably are familiar with once more? Let me remind you of the story in Mark 5 verse 24. The story of the woman that had the issue of blood. She had been isolated. She had been locked in her home for 12 whole years. She had seen doctors and they'd left her worse, not better. She'd asked people for help and they had not helped her in a way that moved her any more closer to her breakthrough. And so one day in desperation, she hears Jesus is in the neighborhood, but she realizes he's not going to come to my house today. I'm going to have to do something to actually make a connection with the one who could possibly heal me. And that woman that was bedbound, that woman that was disappointed, that woman that was weak in body, she knew if I want a breakthrough, I have to push past these things and reach out to him. And so she gets on her hands and knees and she reaches out through a crowd of people. Everybody's pressing, everybody's pushing all around Jesus. And this woman is coming through on the floor. And the Bible says she reaches out. She doesn't even know where he is. She doesn't even know if as she reaches out, she's going to actually make contact with Jesus or just get trodden on. But there was something inside her that said, I am not going to allow this moment to pass by. And she reached out in faith. And as she reached, she touched the hem of his garment. And let me read to you the story from that point. And she kept saying to herself, this is a Passion Translation, if only I can touch his clothes, I know I will be healed. If only I can reach out and touch his hem, I know I'll be healed. And as soon as her hand touched him, her bleeding immediately stopped. And she knew it, for she could feel her body instantly being healed of her disease. Jesus knew at once that someone had touched him, for he felt that power that surged around him had passed through him and healed someone. He turned and said, who touched my clothes? And his disciples answered, what do you mean, who touched you? Look at this huge crowd. They're all pressing up against you, Jesus. But Jesus' eyes swept the crowd, looking for the one who had reached out and touched him for healing. When the woman who experienced this miracle realized what was happened, she came before him, trembling with fear. I was the one who reached out and touched you. And she told him her story. And Jesus said, daughter, because you dared to believe, your faith has healed you. Go with peace in your heart and be free from your suffering, because you had dared to reach out in a crowd full of people. See, Jesus knew the difference from people just bumping into him and someone reaching out deliberately to touch him. He knew that that was a different touch than all the other touches around him that day. There was something different about that woman's grasping of the garment. And when we deliberately reach out and when we actually push past all the obstacles and say, today I'm going to get help. Today, I'm going to find freedom. When we begin to reach out like that, I'm telling you, Jesus knows the difference. And he responds in a way like he did for the woman at the table begging, like he did for the blind beggar crying when everyone said be quiet, like he did for the woman with the issue of blood who reached out even though she felt weak and didn't know if it would work. There was something in her movement that caused him to move. And so today, I don't know whether you are locked in because people are saying to you, don't ask for help, or whether it's your inner narrative that shuts down your voice. I don't know whether you are stuck right now because you are allowing your pride to get in the way of reaching out. I don't know if it's because pain, like that woman with the issue of blood, has kept you in this place of I can't possibly do or reach out anymore to any more people. Today, I want you, my friend, to know that when we reach out, God is on the responding end. So today, don't stay contained, don't stay confined. And if you need help, listen, I'm really reaching out to someone today. If you need help, if you're anxious, if you're struggling, please, my friend, would you reach out? Reach out to your church if you have one. Reach out to a friend. Reach out and let us know how we can pray for you. Reach out in any way you can to just break that containment off your life today and move you towards the miracle that God has for you. Listen, every time we reach out to him, he always responds. So today, where do you perhaps need to extend your reach? Reach out your faith and actually believe God for a breakthrough that actually will change things inside of you and around you today. Today you are contained, but your reaching out is not confined. So today, my friend, would you choose to reach out?